I'm so glad you could join me for today's recipe, and this is something simple, easy, and delicious. This is my easiest chocolate cake recipe, and it's vegan too. This delicious chocolate cake recipe really earns its name as the easiest because I'm going to mix it right in my baking pan using a fork. That's all that's needed. Let me get right to it. Now, you might recognize this style of cake. Sometimes it's called a depression cake, a wacky cake, a crazy cake. It is a snack style cake. So you bake it and serve it from your baking pan. So in addition to my flour, I've got my sugar, baking soda, and I do need to measure. You need your measuring tools for this, whether it's a scale or cups, however you prefer. I'll measure in my salt. And I'll just use the fork, instead of sifting this, the fork to stir it in the pan. And I'm baking this cake in the pan. Hey, I can't forget my cocoa powder. It's not much of a chocolate cake without the cocoa powder, is it? Let me add that right now while I'm chatting to you. You don't have to worry about greasing the pan. The cake comes out easily. I'm using a ceramic pan. You could easily use a metal pan if you wish. So yes, now this makes it a chocolate cake. Some cocoa powder, but I'm not using couverture baking chocolate. We're keeping this cake very, very simple and stirring everything together. If you need, you can rotate the pan. The reason you hear this cake referred to as a depression cake sometimes is because it doesn't call for eggs, it doesn't call for milk, and it doesn't call for butter. Common ingredients you find in baking, well, in short supply during the Depression. So outside of it being cost efficient, it does happen to be vegan at the same time, and it works. It is nice and light and fluffy. And I should mention, the cocoa powder I used, it's up to you if you want to use Dutch process or regular cocoa powder. Both work absolutely fine. Okay, I'm just working out some of those little cocoa lumps. There we go, and I like to level it out. All right, now here's a fun little tradition when it comes to making this cake. It's not essential. You can just add your wet ingredients to the bowl, but there's a bit of a tradition. You make 3 divots in the flour. 1 large one and 2 little ones. I suppose this is fun to do if you're mixing up this cake with kids. So into the large one goes your neutral oil. And into the small ones, you add your vanilla. And then this is the key ingredient, adding a little vinegar to the batter. This is going to activate the baking soda that's going to lift up the cake because you don't have eggs, which naturally lend a little volume and lift to your baking. And I favor balsamic. You could just simply use white vinegar or any type of vinegar, even lemon juice, just so long as you've got some good acidity there. That does the trick. And then the last ingredient, simply a cup of water. Just room temperature is fine. And just take a minute to use your fork like a whisk and stir everything together. The one thing to take time and care with is getting into the corners to make sure everything's evenly blended. You really have to make sure you're stirring everything well and evenly. Now you can see why I call this my weeknight chocolate cake, because it's one of those cakes you can just think about at 5 or even after dinner, mix it up, get it in the oven, and you're cutting into it before it's time to go to bed. You want the batter to be relatively smooth, but a few lumps are actually okay. Yep, the corners are the fussy parts. Of course, I'm showing you that you can mix this in the pan, but if you'd rather put it together with a whisk in a bowl and scrape it into your baking pan, of course you can do that. All right. I've preheated my oven to 350 and this takes 30 to 35 minutes. And you test the doneness like any cake. You insert a skewer in the center. When it comes out clean of any crumbs, you know it's cooked. And here's the cake out of the oven and cooled. It's just a textbook chocolate cake. I love it. You can serve it like this, dust it with icing sugar, or if you want a simple glaze, it says easy to make, well, actually easier than the cake itself. I've got a little icing sugar. I'll add my cocoa powder, again with a fork. Stir the two together. And it's up to you if you'd rather use water or coffee that's been brewed and then cooled. So I work with it while it's at room temperature. I do like the addition of the coffee. It just bolsters the chocolate flavor because this is a thin glaze that goes on top of the cake. If you find it's too thick, you can add a few droplets of water. First, you have to get it mixed before you know. There we go. You do want it to be fluid so that it can spread to cover the surface of the cake. This does seem a bit thick, so I will add a splash of water. Oh, and while I'm at it, a little pinch of salt is nice, just to offset the sweetness. Oh, there we go. And see that glossiness. A nice even stream. I will switch to a spatula here. And I pour the glaze into the center of the cake and then just swirl the pan around to get it completely covered. It does start setting quickly. Ooh. Just coax it to fill the, just being impatient here, that's all. This glaze starts setting in a matter of minutes, but I know you want to see the inside of the cake so that you can appreciate how it can be vegan. You don't have any dairy or eggs, but it's a fluffy, moist, delicious cake. So I'll cut into it even though the glaze has not fully set. And just like any snacking cake, you just go right into the pan. Yum. Oh, you have to forgive me for licking my fingers when it's that good. Look at that interior of that cake. So simple to make. You'll have it in the oven in no time. And before you know it, you'll be diving into a piece. Don't forget to give this recipe a like and subscribe if you want to see more delicious, approachable, and achievable recipes, baking and cooking. Thank you for joining me here on Oh Yum, and I'll see you again for another delicious recipe. Is it awful for me to say it's almost like cake mix?